What's up, everybody? Mark with Cardivox Academy here. And today we are doing something pretty different. Now, I know I say that a lot. I'm constantly saying today we're doing something different, but today we really are. We really are doing something different. This is not going to be our normal reaction video fare. What we're going to be talking about is unfortunately, if you have had your eyes on the news, metal news, Trevor Strnad, the vocalist of the Black Dahlia murder, has passed away. Um, that was a very big surprise. That was a really big shock. And I had some people, I had a good handful of people asking me, like, what we plan to do about it. Because, of course, being a channel that focuses exclusively on metal vocals and Trevor being the sort of pinnacle of metal vocals that he is, um, there was an expectation that we would have something to say or a video to make, and I wanted to, but I wanted to do it the right way, and I wasn't really sure what that would be. Um, First and foremost, it was interesting to me because I wasn't aware. I woke up, I was scrolling Instagram, and on Ben Durr's Instagram page, I saw a picture of Trevor Strnad, and I remember thinking like, oh, sick, new Black Dahlia murder. That's going to be awesome. And I read like he had this just like huge description in the video or in the image, and I read it, and I remember thinking like slowly realizing what was going on as I read, and I was mostly really surprised. I didn't really want to believe it, and I was kind of sad, right? And that sad part surprised me. Now, I know that might seem a crappy thing to say, but bear with me here. I've never been the kind of person who feels a lot of tangible sadness when there's like a death in the news or something like that. I care. I hope that their friends and family are okay. I'm aware that for the people close to them, it's going to be very, very hard and very difficult. But for me, I just don't really internalize it. So when I felt sad, I was a little surprised. The only time I've ever felt sad is when Robin Williams passed away. And I was like, I need a couple days to just kind of sit in this and explore this. What does this mean? And I made a post on our community page saying, well, what should we do? What should we say? Because I really wanted it to be respectful. I didn't want it to be about me. And I mentioned that I had met him once and that it was a good yet very simple story. And a lot of people, they said, yo, we would love to hear that story. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Because I realized over time that the reason I felt sad is even though I only met him briefly, he left a pretty strong impression on me, right? So I met him in 2013, November 17th, 2013. And I believe that was their Into the Ever Black tour. They came through Arizona. They were in Tucson. I don't live in Tucson, but I made the drive. Me and Nico and a couple other people, we made the drive to Tucson, and I was really excited to see. I don't remember who they were playing with, but I was very excited because I'd memorized a couple Black Dahlia murder songs. I don't remember what they were. I think it was Necropolis and Death Mask Divine, and I don't think they played Necropolis, but I was so excited to scream along. And the show was awesome, of course. Trevor was nonstop. He was one of the coolest people to watch on stage because he just did not stop. And that is not a skill that I have or many other people have. Just nonstop, pum 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 pum, endless movement, endless energy, and the whole crowd was spellbound, basically. And after the show, I noticed a couple interesting things. The first was that he was like walking around in the crowd. A lot of times when a show is done, the vocalist will kind of disappear. They'll go back and sit kind of quietly behind the merch booth, or they will, head back to the green room if there's a green room. And I want to make it clear, like that, there's no shame in that. If you're tired, if you need to take that vocal rest, if you're deep into a tour and you're just spent, like it's okay to take that time for yourself. So I'm not inadvertently shaming anybody if that's what you do. But I did notice that he was in the crowd, and that was really surprising to me. and he was taking a lot of pictures with people. And I'm not normally the kind of person who asks for pictures just because like I don't want to bug anybody. And I was like, "Ah, this he seems really cool. Like he seems really nice. He seems really cool. I'm gonna go ask him." And I don't know what I said, just like, "Hey, Trevor," or something like that. And I remember he turned and he looked at me and he had like he got like this big smile on his face. I'd never met this dude. This dude did not know my name. He did not know who I was, but he like turned and looked at me and was like happy to see me. And I was like a little surprised. Like it was, he looked at me like he did know me, but he definitely did not. And I was like, hey man, good show. Can I take a picture? And he was like so cool and warm about it. He was like, yeah, man, absolutely. And I remember he reached out and he actually put his arm around my shoulder and he like pulled me into like a side hug, right? And we made the metal horns and everything. And I think the thing that was so cool was that maybe he was playing it up. I don't think so, but he seemed really genuinely happy to be taking a picture with me. Some freaking nobody from Phoenix, Arizona. I had no YouTube channel at that time, and even now I'm a dinky little small fry. Not a whole lot of music was being written by us, by Kardashev in 2013. So we were not on any map whatsoever. But he was just happy. He was happy that I was happy to take a picture with him, and the whole experience was really genuine. And I felt like he gave a shit. You talk to some people after shows, and again, there's no shame in this because tour is exhausting and mentally and emotionally draining. But sometimes you can tell that they are really just too tired for you in that moment, and that's okay. But it also was he was the only vocalist I'd ever talked to who like, and even since then, one of a very small handful who really gave a shit about talking to me in the moment. And then he left, or whatever. And I have that picture here. I dug through Facebook and I found it. And I told people about that for weeks, tons of people, even people I knew who didn't care about metal, like people at work. And I was working at a financial company at the time. And I told everybody, I was like, yo, I met this vocalist and he was so cool. And if you think about it, there's not really much story there. Like I saw somebody I admire and I asked them for a photo and they took a photo with me. Like that's, as far as events occurring, that's it. But it left such a deep impression on me. And I carried that for a long time. I remember when we did start playing more shows and we were, going around a little bit more frequently. I've never been the kind of vocalist who, during a song is like, everybody get the fuck up here. I don't want to see any fucking assholes standing in the back. That's not my style. That's not me. That's a fine way to hype a crowd if the energy is there. No shame in the people who do it because we all know how it works. But it just never was me. A lot of time what I would do is, it was a little weird. It was a little goofy. But if the vibe was right, I say jump down. I never played on any huge stages. But I would get off the stage and we would just have like big group hugs. You know what I mean? And I always asked. I didn't just assume people wanted my like sweaty, nasty self squeezing them, but I'd be like, you get a hug and I want to hug you. And can I hug you? And are you like, can we hug? And cause like, and this is in like the middle of a song, like where the rest of the band is still playing, but like, and the funny thing is like, I'm not a hugger. I don't mind hugs. Like if you and I were to ever meet in person and you went in for a hug, I would hug you and that would be a good moment, I guess. But if you didn't want to hug me, that would be totally fine. Right. And it's nothing bad against anybody. That's just, I'm just not a hugger. I hug my wife and that's pretty much it. But in that moment, that really felt right. Jumping down and like, hugging all the people who were kind enough to give me 20 to 30 minutes of their time. And I think, I was looking back on that because I never really thought about it. And I think that a lot of that came from my interaction with Trevor at that show in Tucson. Because I remember after he walked away, I thought to myself, like, if I'm ever a famous vocalist, if I ever make it, that's the kind of vocalist I want to be. Like, that's who I want to be. I want to make people feel like I give a shit. you know, and that's really carried on. It's so interesting how such small moments really shape us, you know? That's really carried on to what I do here. Um, Sometimes I do not want to film a video. I'm not in the mood. It sounds terrible. It sounds like the worst thing that I could possibly do. I would rather just boot up the old PlayStation and play some video games and be done with it. But, I know that people enjoy these videos, and I feel better when I'm done having helped people feel excited about music with me in the moment. Um, and I think I learned that from him. Partially. We're complex, multifaceted beings, and you know, I've watched other performances mostly on YouTube, and like kind of built my persona that way. But yeah, it was a really big moment. That was a really huge moment for me, and I was never like in his circle of friends. Like we didn't text or talk or anything, but everything I'm seeing of other people, it really corroborates that, that he was just like this warm and awesome person. And, if you're a little bit younger and you're just getting into deathcore and metal and all this, you may not be as familiar with him, but he was the metal vocalist, hands down, for a large, like a whole genre for a long time. Like I remember back in the day, we would all sit around and, all of us new budding vocalists trying to figure out what we were doing. And all of us would often say like, well, this is how Trevor does it, or this is what Trevor does, or, he has this, or like, you got to hit those rapid fire vocals, which like none of that is true. You don't have to be like anybody else, but my point is that he was the inspiration for a lot of people. So, it's a lot. It's a lot because, it's important that I think that it's important that we carry that forward. It's very easy to, as you become good at something, to lose sight of where you were. And I don't think he ever did. He never seemed like he felt like he was better than anybody else. He never seemed to act as though he was never smug, at least never that I saw. And I was just an observer watching like YouTube videos and like that Majesty documentary and things like that. He seemed high energy, very intense. But yeah, he seemed like a good guy. And I think that a lot of us in the genre will miss him quite a bit. Now, unfortunately, there's a part of this that I really want to talk about because I think it's really important. I haven't seen any like real detail on how he passed away, but unfortunately, in the band's post, they pasted the suicide hotline, and I'm gonna have a link in the description below with all the suicide hotlines internationally, But I think that's part of the reason why I cared so much too, because that's to keep it simple, that's a phone number I've called a couple times. That's a hard place to be. That's a tough place to be. Um and it's funny because I think that Trevor probably, if he knew someone who was in that space, he probably would have been, again, I'm extrapolating here based on a very small interaction, but he'd probably be one of the first people to talk to them and to give them space to express how they feel. And I just want to say that if you feel like that, it's okay. It's all right. I've felt like that. My business partner has felt like that. That's kind of what we bonded over initially, actually. It was like, yeah, you too? Yeah, me too. It's okay to feel that way. But, it's also important to reach out and call these phone numbers and know that there are people who care about you somewhere. Now, this isn't me trying to like backhandedly say Trevor should have done something different. That's not how it works. You know, it's such a hard space to be in. But I wanted to touch on it because that's an experience I can relate to. That's kind of how Cardivox Academy started. Was I left the hospital and had a new verb for life, I guess. But if you feel that way, I hope my videos can bring you some joy, can give you something small to look forward to. And I will say I know many people who have recovered, and they have all said that it gets better. If you are a friend of someone who goes through that, you know, goes through those dark places, you know, reach out to them from time to time. You don't have to make yourself their therapist. You're not equipped for that. I'm not equipped to be anybody's therapist, but you know, sometimes my business partner and I will just randomly reach out to each other like, hey, how's your day? Where are you at? How are you feeling today? What kind of space are you in? Just simple stuff, simple stuff. And that's not me backhandedly saying that people weren't doing that for Trevor. I'm sure that so many people who loved and cared for him were doing that. But yeah, let the people you love know that you love them. And if you need help, feel free to please reach out to some of the numbers linked in the description below. And if you have a good network, you know, lean on that. But that's about it. I think that's enough. I don't need to go on for too long, but I wanted to talk about the impact he made for me. And I think one of the best ways that we can keep somebody with us is to talk about the best things that they left for the community that they were in, right? And for him, of course, it's music, it's vocals, it's personality, it's stage presence, it's a lot of kindness from what I saw. So if you have a good story, you know, share it on Facebook or something, you know, make an Instagram post about it. If there was a time you met him and it really meant a lot to you, feel free to do that. Because I know that I will, as I continue my vocal career, however long that lasts, you know, until I hang up the mic, it'll happen someday. I'll remember that time that he gave a shit about taking a picture with some schmuck in Tucson. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's it for today. I appreciate y'all. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the ones you love. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.